Immanuel Kant. So Immanuel Kant was born on April 22, 1724 in Königsberg, Prussia, or what is now Kaliningrad, Russia. Immanuel Kant was the fourth of 9 children born to Johann Georg Kant, a harness maker, and Anna Regine Kant. Later in his life, Immanuel changed the spelling of his name to Canto to adhere the German spelling practices. In 1740, Kant enrolled at the University of Königsberg as a theology student but was soon attracted to mathematics and physics. In 1746, his father died and he was forced to leave the university to help his family for a decade. He worked as a private tutor for the wealthy. During this time, he published several papers dealing with scientific questions, exploring the middle ground between rationalism and empirism.
Immanuel Kant is a central figure in modern philosophy. He synthesized early modern rationalism and empiricism, set the terms for much of 19th and 20th century philosophy, and continues to exercise a significant influence today in metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, political philosophy, aesthetics, and other subfields. The fundamental idea of Kant is the critical philosophy, especially in his 3 critics. First, the critic of pure reason. Second, the critic of practical reason. And third, the critic of the power judgment, is human autonomy. He argues that the human understanding is the source of the general laws of nature that structure all our experiences, and that human reason gives itself moral law, which is our basis for belief in God, freedom, and immorality.
In 1781, Immanuel Kant published the Critique of Pure Reason, an enormous work and one of the most important on Western thought. He attempted to explain how reason and experiences interact with thought and understanding. The revolutionary proposal explained how an individual's mind organizes experience into understanding the way the world works. Kant focused on ethics, the philosophical study of moral action. He proposed a moral law called the categorical imperative, stating that morality is derived from rationality and all moral judgments are rationally supported. What is right and what is wrong. There is no gray area. Human beings are obligated to follow this imperative unconditionally if they are to claim to be moral. Thought of the critic of pure reason received little attention at the time. Kant continued to refine his theories in a series of essays that comprise the critique of practical reason and critique of judgment. Kant continued to write on philosophy until shortly before his death. In his last years, he became embittered due to his loss of memory. He died in 1804 at the age of 80.
Through his critics, knowledge, ethics, aesthetic, Kant has definitely revolutionized the history of philosophy. It is undoubtedly the greater German philosopher. Here are some notable quotes by Immanuel Kant. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. Look closely, the beautiful may be small.
Hi, this is Dr. Gloria Frost of the University of St. Thomas. In this short video animation, I'm going to provide you with a brief summary of Immanuel Kant's ethical theory and its approach to evaluating actions. Kant's theory is a deontological theory of ethics. The word deon means duty in Greek. Deontological theories judge actions to be right or wrong based on whether they conform with our duties. For Kant, what is most important in life is having a good will. A good will wills actions that conform to one's duty solely because it's one's duty to do so. This means that there are 2 elements to having a good will. First, the actions that are chosen by a person must be the right kind of actions. They are actions that conform to the duties which are set by the moral law. Second, a person must choose the right action solely because it is the right thing to do. This is to say that he or she must have the right motive. The person with a good will does not do right actions because he or she fears punishment or hopes for a reward. He or she does the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. Kant came up with two different tests for how we can tell whether a given action is in accord with duty or fits with the moral law. His test, called the categorical imperative, states, "I should never act except in such a way that I can also will that my maxim should become a universal law." Kant says that we need to ask ourselves whether we could will to live in a world where every other person acted according to the principle we are about to act on. For instance, when a student is considering cheating on an important test because he didn't study, he should ask himself, according to Kant, would I want to live in a world where everyone everywhere always cheated when they were taking an exam they didn't prepare for? It seems that this would be an undesirable world. For example, grades would not be able to be trusted, and academic honors would be meaningless. Since universalizing the maxim or principle that one should cheat when one is unprepared leads to difficulties, we can know that acting on this principle violates the moral duty and the moral law. Kant believed that in addition to this first test, there was another way to test whether a given action is in accord with or a violation of our moral duty. Kant formulates this test as follows. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of another, always at the same time as an end and never simply as a means. In Kant's view, human beings have infinite intrinsic value because we are rational beings. Each person is capable of formulating their own purposes and goals. When we act towards other persons, we need to remember that each person has hopes, dreams, goals, plans, and desires just like we do. We cannot reduce other people to mere objects for fulfilling our own plans. The worth and value of human beings, human persons that is, comes solely from what they are, not because of any utility or job they do for someone else. Any act that involves using another person or even oneself as a means without also respecting the person as an end counts as an act which violates the moral law and one's duty. So in conclusion, if we want to know whether Kant would think a certain action is morally good action, there are two important distinctions we need to keep in mind. First, we must consider the action itself and determine whether or not it fits with the duty all of us have to follow the moral law. We can use the two tests we learned about regarding the universality of maxims and treating humanity as an end to know whether a given act lines up with the moral law and duty. Second, we must consider the agent's motive to know if their act has moral worth. For Kant, the only actions that have true moral worth are those which are done from duty because they are right. Actions done from some ulterior motive, such as pleasure or fear of punishment, do not have true moral worth according to Kant.
Take off